buckle up because we're diving headfirst into some seriously ancient mysteries today. The Book of Enoch talk about a wild ride. Fallen angels, giants, forbidden knowledge. It's like a biblical Indiana Jones movie. Where do we even start with this one?
You hit the nail on the head with ancient mysteries. The Book of Enoch isn't just some dusty old scroll. It's been sparking debate for centuries. And you mentioned hidden books in your research.
Yeah, like in Daniel and 4 Ezra. These almost secret texts, super intriguing. So how does Enoch fit in with all that?
Well, the word apocrypha, often used for books like Enoch, has a fascinating history in itself. It used to refer to texts with, like, secret knowledge, stuff only certain people were privy to.
So already we've got that connection to hidden wisdom. Okay, but Enoch isn't in the Protestant Bible, right?
Right, but some early church fathers, big names like Justin Martyr, considered it scripture. He even blamed the fall of man on, get this, those fallen angels who, as the Book of Enoch describes it, got a little too cozy with humans.
Okay, now we're talking. So Enoch is this revered yet rejected book shrouded in mystery. Before we unpack it all, can you give us the TL, Dr. Kelly? What's it actually about?
Imagine this epic saga revealing the inner workings of heaven and earth, good versus evil, divine judgment, the whole shebang, and the details. Enoch lays out angelic hierarchies, cosmic secrets, the mechanics of the universe. It's mind-blowing.
Whoa. Dante's Inferno on steroids. You mentioned these angelic hierarchies. What makes their depiction in Enoch different from other texts?
Enoch doesn't just mention angels. It gives you names, ranks, functions, like a celestial org chart. It's incredibly intricate, especially with that backdrop of cosmic rebellion, with characters like Azazel stealing the show.
Let's talk about Azazel. He's the OG bad influence, right?
Think of him as this tragic figure. Powerful angel falls from grace, leads humanity astray. He's the one who, according to Enoch, teaches mankind all the no-nos. Weaponry, magic, deception, the works.
Talk about a fall from grace. It's like the ultimate curiosity killed the cat story, but on a cosmic scale.
Exactly. And for those who held this text sacred, these weren't just stories. They were warnings, lessons on how to live right.
And then there's Enoch himself. He's not just watching from the sidelines. He's a divine messenger. What's his role in all of this?
Let's just say delivering messages to fallen angels and a doomed humanity. That's a tough gig.
Talk about a divine calling. But it's through Enoch's journeys, those crazy visions, that we get this glimpse into the hidden parts of the cosmos. And speaking of hidden, those passages about giants you highlighted, there's a mention of another book, the Book of Giants. What's the deal with that?
Yes, the giants. This is where things get really interesting. We're talking about the Book of Giants fragments found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. Remember the Nephilim from Enoch, the offspring of fallen angels and human women?
Right, those guys.
Well, the Book of Giants dives deep into their story. Imagine reading about these beings, their immense size, their power, the chaos they unleashed on the world, all from their perspective.
I don't know. So it's like a spin-off, the Nephilim side of the story.
Exactly. And what makes it even wilder is some scholars believe these stories could date back over 3,000 years. We're talking potentially even older than the Dead Sea Scrolls themselves.
Whoa. Now that's what I call ancient history. But hold on a sec. If these stories are that old, were they passed down orally for centuries before being written down? And what about other cultures? Did they have similar stories?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like we're just scratching the surface of something much bigger and older than we can imagine.
And speaking of giant mysteries, you brought up some compelling stuff about fossilized giant skeletons and what they call parts out of place artifacts. Hard to ignore all those reports, right?
Exactly. And it's not just the bones themselves. It's the tools, those massive structures that seem impossible for, humans like us to have built. It's like looking at a giant question mark carved into history. It really makes you question what else is out there. Like we talked about with the hidden books. If the Book of Enoch, with its stories of giants and fallen angels, resonated with other cultures like the Book of Giants suggests, what else might we find if we keep digging?
Okay, but time for a reality check. If giants were real, wouldn't we have more concrete proof? How do we explain their supposed existence with the lack of widespread archaeological evidence? Yeah, it's a real head-scratcher. Trying to fit this massive piece into a puzzle that doesn't seem to have room for it.
It's a good point. But maybe it's not that there's no evidence. Maybe it's about how we think about what's been preserved or not preserved.
Okay, I'm listening. What do you mean?
Well, one of the sources you shared talked about the Zoroastrian tradition. They have this whole other view on death and decomposition. They see a corpse as like inherently impure. It's a vessel for drudge, this force of chaos and decay.
So basically they're saying physical remains, especially ones seen as spiritually impure, wouldn't be treated the same way as in other cultures.
Exactly. No fancy burials or big monuments. And when you consider how huge and powerful these beings might have been, it's not a stretch to think people would have been terrified of their remains.
So instead of preserving them, they might have been destroyed, left to rot, maybe even reused as building materials. It's like we're stuck in our own ways of thinking about how things should be preserved.
Right. And that brings us back to what this deep dive is all about. Questioning what we think we know. Being open to the idea that we don't have it all figured out when it comes to the past.
You know, it's funny. We started with the Book of Enoch talking about giants and fallen angels, and now we're questioning the very nature of history itself. It makes you wonder, what do we really know?
It really makes you think. We tend to see history as this straight line, a neat timeline. But then we dig into ancient texts, archaeology, even these wild stories, and we realize just how much we don't know.
The Book of Enoch throws it all in our faces, doesn't it? History, myth, maybe some made-up stuff too. It forces us to look beyond what's accepted, to consider other explanations.
It does. And who knows what's out there waiting to be discovered if we keep asking questions and digging deeper. If the Book of Enoch, with its giants and fallen angels, resonated with other cultures, what else is hiding in plain sight?
So where does this leave us? What's the takeaway from our deep dive into the Book of Enoch and all its mysteries?
I don't think it's about deciding to believe one thing or another. It's more about realizing we don't have all the answers. Approaching the past, and maybe even the present, with a good balance of curiosity and healthy skepticism. The Book of Enoch, even with its contradictions, reminds us that learning is a journey, not a finish line.
It's an invitation to explore the past, to put the pieces together ourselves. And maybe in doing that, we understand not just where we've been, but also where we might be going. Who knows what incredible knowledge is still out there, just waiting for us to rediscover it.